of shit, yeah, they breath stank. Walk up in the club, dripping like I'm fresh paint. I can see through the facade like an...
What's going on, fight fans? It's another great day when you love MMA. Mad Matty here from Mad Matty Fight Talk. I got a special guest in the building, my fucking brother, Chris Miranda. How's it going, Chris?
Not bad, not bad. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
This episode's sponsored by Yerba Mate, so if you'd like to send us some free shit, we would gladly accept. We got a big fight card coming up. UFC 270 is right around the corner. It's kicking off the new year. It's going to be Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane. It's a pretty stacked fight card, but we're just going to go down the top three of who we think is going to win, our predictions, and how those fights might go. First on the list, obviously, is Jarod Cannonier versus Brunson. At first, I wasn't too excited for this fight, but I actually do think it's going to be a pretty good fight.
I know, it's funny you said that. I know exactly what you mean. I wasn't pumped up either. And then you look at the paper, you look at the stats on it, Matt. I swear it's a great fight. It's number 3 versus number 4. You got Jarod Cannonier coming off a huge win against Gastelum, and then you have Derek Brunson, who's just been on a tear. So, I mean, I'm pumped up about this fight for sure.
Well, it's an interesting fight for me because I've watched both these guys a lot, and it seems like now it's like, a boring ground fighter versus a boring stand-up fighter. So,
well, let's do this. You're talking about the top 5 of the division. So let's look at resumes. All right. So the big loss worries for me with Jarod Cannonier in this fight. Obviously, he has the power, right? We're stand up power. He's coming in with a 51% accuracy rate. He comes in with a 3.62 significant strikes, and he only takes 2 back per minute. So, he beat Anderson Silva, Jack Hermanson, Kevin Gastelum, David Branch. Out of all 4 of those big names, 3 of them were KO TKOs. So he definitely has a puncher's chance, but this is where it gets scary. This is where I think Derek Brunson honestly takes over the fight. Is his big losses: Dominic Reyes, Jan Blachowicz, Glover Teixeira, Robert Whitaker. 3 of 4 of those were UD losses. Where does Derek Brunson come in? He comes in with the wrestling. He gets people into the later rounds. He's been coming into that flow. So now when he gets into his fight,
you're talking about losses that he had at 205, so it just shows that he's been successful when he moved down to middleweight.
Derek Brunson isn't a little guy. We're talking about a guy who comes from 225. I mean, this guy's 6'4". He strikes at a 45% rate. He has a 27% takedown ratio, which honestly, his last fight against Darren Till, he only has 13 out of 63 takedowns, but that's all off of aggression. He's only getting better, is what I'm saying. He's a big guy.
Has won his last 5 fights. I think what he's done after he lost to Adesanya is he realized that he's not the best striker in the world. So he went back and remastered what he's good at. I think he's really utilizing the ground and pound and ground game, and that's how he destroyed Darren Till and Holland, which is a smart move. But if you can't get them to the fucking ground, then you're going to be in a world of trouble.
I agree with you. But let's look at the big wins, notable wins. Lyoto Machida by first round KO. Darren Till, decision. Kevin Holland, decision. Ed Shabazian, KO TKO in the 3rd round. Uriah Hall, KO TKO in the 1st round.
Derek Brunson finished
he finished. So he finished still. So he has out of his big wins here, he has a lot of those wins coming by TKO KO in the either the 1st round or taking him into the deep waters and getting him tired of beating on him. So that's, for me, I think that this is it's 2 peas in a pod. One is a striker, one's a grappler. It's going to be whose sword is honestly sharper on the day of the fight. Because if you're looking at big losses, he lost to Izzy Adesanya, striker. Anderson Silva, striker. Jacare Souza landed a KO head kick on him, strike. Robert Whitaker, strikes. So if Jared's going to win, it's going to be by strikes. But if he gets into the later rounds, I'm taking Derek Brunson, deep waters, 5-fight winning streak. I'm taking Derek Brunson to come in number 4. I'm also taking Derek Brunson
because I think Derek Brunson's a more experienced fighter. He's fought better strikers than Cannonier. Cannonier has a lot of power, but he relies too much on that.
Resume talks.
When he fought Robert Whitaker, he couldn't do anything. Like Whitaker was moving too much for him. He was outstriking him. I think Brunson has good enough stand-up where he can hang with Cannonier, and I think Cannonier is not going to land as much as he thinks he is.
If we're looking at paper, he has 1 round. Jarod has 1 round to do it. If he doesn't, Gastelum made it out of the 1st round. He went to a decision, right? So for me, Derek's a big boy, man, and he's only getting better. He has 5-fight winning streak. Darren and Kevin Holland are not small middleweights. I think it's a rough night at the office for Jarod Cannonier. I take Derek Brunson by unanimous decision. 3 rounds is going to be a fucking cakewalk for him.
Yeah, I think he's gonna TKO him from ground and pound because I think he's gonna fluster the
Wow.
fuck out of. Dude, he's gonna fluster him on the ground by shooting in constantly. He's been having hella success with that. He's been getting better and better at wrestling. Cannonier's not gonna be able to stop the takedown, and he gets tired, and then he doesn't do anything when the. I mean, 3 rounds is not as long as what he's been doing.
Cannonier has 9 wins by KO TKO, and that's for his record, that's a 64% finish ratio. So I mean, he has a first round chance. But I don't think after both of them coming off of 5-round fights, I don't think a 3-round fight's going to tire either of them. I think Derek's going to be smarter, push the pace, wear on him, and just by the 3rd round, I think Jared's going to be looking for the door.
I think that Brunson's going to win, but if he can't get the fight to the ground, I think he'll still win by decision because he's going to be applying the pressure. And I don't think Cannonier is going to be able to deal with that. I'm giving Jared
the puncher's chance in the first round. If I don't see going after, if he doesn't finish the first round, I don't see him having any skill set that Derek hasn't faced before. I just don't see it. And I just don't think power is going to be enough for him in this fight.
Yeah.
I take Derek.
We're on the same page with that because I agree. I think Brunson's going to win. I think he has more tools in the bag. And I think he could probably even win by submission.
He looked, Jared looked impressive against Gaslam, but to be honest, Gaslam hasn't looked impressive. So, the Gaslam that he fought is not the same one Izzy fought. And the matter of the fact, if you just look at the resumes, I mean, Jared's 14-5. I mean, Derek's 23-7, and 7 of those losses are from huge names. So just resume. And also,
nothing against Calvin Gaslam. This shouldn't have to do anything, but he's a small dude, like for that weight class.
For the weight class, he's not a big guy.
Dude, he's not a big guy, and for him to be able to hang in with there were guys like that, I give him all his credit, but that just says a lot to Cannonier. Is like, I'm not taking away from his skill set, but at the same time, it's like, bro, if you can't put a guy like that away who's obviously not at the peak of their career anymore, it's
right
rough going in against a guy who has all the momentum and who is chasing a title shot, and his last loss is to the champion. So he definitely wants to avenge that, and that's motivation.
For sure. And I just think a lot more is riding on it for Brunson than it is Cannonier, and I just don't think Cannonier is going to come out with a W. No hard feelings against him. He's a great fighter. Again, I just think he's a little too little, a little too late in his career, and I just don't see him getting better at this point. I think he's going to get a little bit more diminished as the years go on. So that's just my opinion. Obviously the UFC does what they see fit, and a big win for him by KO, he could steal all the limelight from Derek.
All right, so we agree on that. We think Derek Brunson's going to win. If you guys had to put your money on it, I would probably go with Derek Brunson in this fight just because of the skill set.
Let us know what you guys think below. Give us a comment.
Hit us in the comments. Moving on to the co-main event. I'm actually really hyped for this fight.
The rubber match.
I don't know if I'm as hyped as I was for the second fight because of how it went, but we got Moreno versus Figueiredo 3. This fight is probably going to be fireworks because I think Figgy's pissed off about the second fight. I was very disappointed in how the second fight went, but I can't be because Brandon Moreno showed all the skill set of a champion, and he came out with a game plan and he executed the shit out of it. So I was actually very impressed with that, and I've been watching that dude for a long time, and he's literally just been getting better and better and better.
The thing about Moreno that impresses me is he had the clip on him on the YouTube that was going around after he won the belt, and it was years. I think it was 2016, 2014, 15, or 16. And he said, "It may not be tomorrow, may not be next week, but I'm going to be the champion. I'm going to get that belt." And here we are talking about possibly the greatest rubber match at 125 ever. I mean, these two guys laid it all on the line the first fight. And Figgy came in sick. Everybody knew that after the fact when his medical records came out. But going into that second fight, I'm telling you, Brandon looked sharper than I've ever seen him in his entire career. He knew what was on the line. He came in with that attitude of, I'm not going to skip a beat. I'm going to make sure my punches are sharp. My takedowns are worth it. I'm going to not give up at all. And I think Figgy, he got frustrated. I think he was throwing hard and trying to get him out there and realized he wasn't going anywhere. He was there for 5 fights.
Well,
and, I think that was the decisive factor in that fight.
I think that Figueiredo might have underestimated how that fight was going to go. I think that he thought he was definitely going to knock him out. Brandon Moreno, though, surprised me. I thought it was going to go a lot like the first fight, and I think that's why Dana White was hyped to set that up again. But Figueiredo did not I don't know what was going on with that guy. He made me eat my words because I said that he's the Anderson Silva of that division, and obviously he's not. Demetrius Johnson still is, but Brandon Moreno has the skill set like of a true champion. He reminds me of like a young GSP because his stand up is meeting to where his ground game is, and his ground game is superior to a lot of these guys. That's where he just dominates the fight. So honestly, I don't know. This fight's pretty tough. I like Figueiredo. Like, he's one of my favorite fighters, but I do seriously think Brandon Moreno is going to win again.
I think the most important factor of this fight is that the UFC and the guys fighting in this decided to continue the rubber match months later instead of years later. This is important time frame. They're both in the top of their game. Figueiredo is no slouch. He just beat Benavidez twice in a row, got the belt, had to defend against Moreno. He kept the belt on a draw and then lost it just by honestly one of the toughest fights and one of the best perfect fights I've ever seen from Brandon. So for me, I think I'm going with Brandon Moreno on this. And the reason I'm going with him is I think Figgy's too explosive. I think he doesn't have the gas tank to back it up. I think he is a smaller Jose Aldo, and I think he's great in the first 3 rounds. Later on, he just wears, and you see his punches get sloppier and sloppier. And the thing about Brandon is his endurance and technique, his hunger and desire. He has 4 daughters, I believe. I mean, he's Viva la Mexico. This guy's coming to take over for the country of Mexico. So I think I don't see Figgy being able to solve that puzzle. I think it's too hard, too hot. Brandon's been, grinding his way to the top, and I think I honestly don't see it being a finish. I think we're going to see one of the next greatest 125 fights go 5-5s, and I think you're going to see a unanimous decision, Brandon Moreno.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm going for Brandon Moreno for a different reason. I think that he mentally broke Figueiredo in the second fight. I think Figgy realized like, damn, this guy got better, and I think I stayed the same. And
I don't think it was all that. I think it was gas tank. Let's look at gas tank. He was gassing out.
Yeah, hold on.
He knew he was gassing out.
That's what I was going into next, is that he struggles to make that weight class, which is weird because Jose Aldo used to struggle to make 145 and is now destroying people at 135. So there's something wrong with how this guy is training, obviously, or his team doesn't know how to get him down to weight properly, or he's not utilizing the PI in Brazil. One of those things has to be happening, but that can't be an excuse. You were the champion. You fought again for the belt, lost. Like, if the weight class is too much, you shouldn't have taken the third fight. So I think he's mentally just broken by this guy. I think he's going out there as a pride thing. I don't think, obviously he thinks he can win the fight, but let's be real, dude. When it hits the ground, I don't think he has the confidence that he's going to win the fight. If Moreno's taking him down,
whoa.
His stand-up matches Figgy though.
Well, let's stop right there. Let's just start with the country of Brazil. We're talking about a Brazilian fighter who's in Brazil. His brother's a UFC roster fighter. I mean, the guy has jiu-jitsu. I honestly think it was just technique. Just look at I've watched that fight 3 times. Brandon was so sharp. He just never wasted a punch in that fight. And if he comes out the same way, which I predict he will, I think it's a tough night at the office for Figgy, but I don't think Figgy's a slouch. I think he's going to come more prepared than ever. I think he's going to have the best weight cut of his life. Maybe, the factor in cutting weight for people who've never cut weight is, when you're cutting 10 pounds the day of or day before, it's a lot of draining. 10 pounds, 10 pounds of water. 10 pounds of water weight is a lot of working out. It's a lot of calories to burn. You have to burn thousands of calories. So these guys are cutting and making weight. They're doing the tricks of the trade, getting in the sauna, throwing hot towels over them, sleeping in blankets with their sweatsuit. I've had boxing friends sleep and drench their entire bed to just wake up and not have to go jog for miles. So we don't know what kind of cuts he's making, but I assume his team is going to get him a right cut, and I think it's going to go to a decision. I think it's going to be one of the best 125 fights.
I think it's going to be a really good fight, but here's the thing: where I think, although he's from Brazil and they're known for jiu-jitsu, and Oliveira and all those guys are from there, I don't think his jiu-jitsu is as good as Moreno's. Moreno is obviously on a higher. No, I really don't believe that. If you watch both of the fights,
I disagree with you. I friendly disagree with that. I think that you're crazy beyond belief if you think that, Brandon, and nothing against Brandon. He has great jiu-jitsu and he won by rear naked choke. So obviously he has great jiu-jitsu, but I think you're absolutely crazy if you think that Gas Tank didn't have to take it. Isn't that the guy's technique was worse?
That's what I'm saying.
That's my opinion. That's my opinion on it.
I think it's a combination of the two, because Moreno is known for is a great jiu-jitsu guy. Like, he's good on the ground. He's known for wrestling. He's known for grappling, but his stand-up is meeting that. And I do believe that Figgy's gas tank and the weight cut problems those combined is a problem. If your gas tank isn't there and your technique's not there, your technique goes out the window anyway when your gas tank is gone. You know what I mean? When you don't have any gas left, your technique obviously is going to get sloppier and sloppier. The difference between him and Moreno, and why Moreno's a champion now, and I have to eat my words because I really thought Figgy was going to win. But the difference that I saw is that he doesn't lose technique when he gets tired. He gets tougher and he buckles down and he goes back to technique. And that's why he's going to win.
Exactly. And that's what I'm telling you is, Figgy, he naturally comes out with his hands really low. And Brandon Moreno has a super high guard. He keeps his hands way up high, right by his face, exactly how any kickboxing coach would ask you of. Anybody who I've done Muay Thai with say, please go high. You can protect the body. You can protect your face a lot easier. You can check the kicks. You see long punches. And the thing about Figgy, he's not expecting the technique Brandon's bringing, right? He's coming in hands down, swinging from the hips. And that was cool and good all when he was fighting Joseph Benavidez, who was a wrestler who he knew was going to shoot. But Brandon's not shooting. He's there to stand and bang with
That's
him.
what I'm saying. Yeah. His stand-up's
the big
it.
difference, but I think the big difference is explosion, right? Brandon doesn't waste punches. Figgy is an explosive fighter. If he can get him back into round 3, back into round 4 or 5, it's gonna be a tough night at the office, man. And that's where I think the difference between Brandon and Figgy is. I don't think that it's a technique thing. I don't think Figgy's jiu-jitsu is any worse. I think he has phenomenal jiu-jitsu. He
But
choked Brandon.
Listen, how can you say
He
that?
choked Joseph Benavidez unconscious, dude. That's one of the.
But
that's the uncrowned king of the division.
You have to think, dude. We're talking about UFC fighters. These guys are at the top of their shit. This is where I'm like, I don't know how you can say that because 1, if your gas tank goes, the technique gets sloppy. 2, he throws. This is why I like Figueiredo, is because he throws with intentions to hurt you. But if you constantly miss and you have a shitty gas tank, that starts making your technique worse and worse right away. That was what was happening in the first fight. He was throwing to hurt this guy, but he was missing. The only time it works is if you land.
I think the keys to victory for Figueiredo is his coach is telling him that, hey, let's take the first round really slow. Let's see what Brandon has to offer, right? When you watch that fight back, he was trying to knock his head off with every punch. And I think by the 3rd round, that's where, it's a little too late. You can't make the change with your gas tank once you've decided I'm going to knock this guy out in round 1. And that's the difference in this fight. I think Brandon needs to realize he needs to take Figgy in deep waters. And if Figgy can save some of that gas tank for round 2, 3, and 4, 5, it's going to be, Brandon, he always has that opportunity to knock Brandon out. So I think I don't think the jiu-jitsu, long story short, I don't think the jiu-jitsu has anything to do with it. I think gas tank and technique on striking is going to make the main factor with aggression and how both of them decide to pursue their fight is going to make the biggest factor in this fight. I take Brandon Moreno by round 5 decision. I think he's going to have a UD decision. I think he's going to outstrike him and outwork him.
It just depends to me. I'm going for Brandon Moreno regardless, but I do think that if he can dominate with getting takedowns and making Figueiredo miss early and often, he's probably going to win before the fight hits 5 rounds. That dude just keeps getting better and better and better.
I think that was a fluke finish, to be honest with you. I think Figgy he went out there and didn't have a good game plan, and that's why he got finished. I think this one, when you're fighting somebody, multiple times in a row, it's like football, right? These guys play each other basketball. They play each other so many times per season. Well, in fighting, you may never get that opportunity again. So when you're fighting back to back and have an opportunity to revenge a loss right away, these guys are taking serious calculations into how they're going to approach the fight. I don't think jiu-jitsu is going to play a big factor in it. I think it's going to be aggression, striking, ring control. And I think both guys are going to look to take it into deep waters. Brandon Moreno, round 5, UD, and still. I think that's what's going to be at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think Brandon Moreno's going to win too. And I think Figgy's just a little bit more sloppy than him, just overall.
I'd like to see Figgy, win or lose, go up to 135 after this and move up, because seeing him diminish, man, I don't want to see it anymore. I want to see him in there with a solid gas tank and some serious power at 135 that he possesses. So I think for him, the next move is stepping up in weight class, honestly. That's my opinion.
I would like to see that too. I think that he would have a lot more knockout power, and he could fight how he wants to fight at that weight class.
We may see more. Exactly. We may see a more explosive. Can you believe that? A more explosive Figueiredo just knocking people out at 135.
I can believe that. I could totally believe
phenomenal.
That. He would probably be a lot like Jose Aldo, seriously.
I think the king of the crown for 125 in this new era, I honestly don't think the next 4 or 5 guys have it in to beat Moreno. I think he has that serious potential. If he comes in and looks as good as he looked in his last fight, I don't see somebody at 125 beating him anytime soon.
Well, if I had to put my money where my mouth is, Brandon Moreno. I'm not sure how he does it, but I mean, he could do it early or he could take it 5 rounds. He has the gassing to go 5 rounds, but I seriously think that he has the skill set to beat him before that happens. But I'm putting my money on Brandon Moreno. Moving right along to the main event, the one I've been waiting for. I used to fucking hate Cyril Gane, but now I love this guy. Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane makes all of your favorite fighters look stupid. Francis Ngannou will knock all of your favorite fighters out. The heavyweight champ versus the interim heavyweight champ. This fight is literally speed versus power. It's a very interesting fight. Ngannou can knock people out, but Gane can outstrike the fuck out of everybody, and he moves weight. He's so smooth for a heavyweight. It's crazy.
Well, let's first off, let me start off with the champion, right? How good did he look in his last fight? I mean, the guy's wrestling, he's moving left to right, the gas tank is there, and he's knocking people out with short left jab hooks. I mean, incredible power. The guys are just a phenomenon. Now, this fight is super interesting just because of, the matchup made here. A former training partner in Cyril Gane, a Frenchman. This guy's coming in. His last win was against Derek Lewis by stoppage. Serious technique behind him. It's a scary matchup.
There's a few things for this fight that I think timing is everything in fighting. And there's some things about this fight specifically that favor Cyril Gane. One, you've trained with this guy, you know him, and you know how he strikes. Two, his last fight was a while ago, and Ngannou wanted time off. And I don't know if he's the kind of guy who uses the time off to train and get better, or if he uses it to just enjoy being the champion, because he's taken time off before where he just doesn't even train for fights and comes in and just knocks people out. But the last time he fought Stipe Miocic, he was way heavier than this guy. Stipe was 230, fucking tiny for a heavyweight. Second of all, they were in a tiny ass ring fighting in the fucking UFC Apex, which I thought was insane for how big of a fight that was. So the ring's a lot smaller. Stipe has less room to move around, and Ngannou has a higher chance of catching you. So that favored Ngannou.
Well, if let's take a step back in that fight. If we want to look at that fight particularly, I agree with you on the weight. It was a poor decision by his coach, really to let that happen. You knew the guy you're fighting. You knew the power, and yeah, you guys were trying to outspeed him and do all of that. But once he, Francis started training with Kamaru Usman, which is the one welterweight champion right now, a phenomenal wrestler, teaching him those wrestling skills. You saw within the first shot, his face changed really fast because he said, he's probably saying to himself in his head, I got to watch out for these hands now. And he didn't, because you're in a fist fight for 25 minutes and you're going to get punched. And the thing about that fight that really ticked me off was the arrogance, of the what could be the greatest heavyweight ever, the greatest reign ever, right? And he went into that fight with being so underweight. I mean, Francis is a huge guy, and there's nothing, nothing I want to take away from Stipe out. Nothing I want to take from Stipe Miocic. Great fighter, had a great reign as champion, but you're coming in at 135 or 130 against Francis Ngannou. Are you out of your mind?
I look at it like this, bro. Their coaching staff treated it like they're fighting DC again, because DC is flat-footed. He's a good wrestler. He's a heavy guy, but they knew if they were bigger, if they were lighter, they could be more agile and get around him a lot easier, which they did, and that was smart. It's not the same game plan for every dude. Ngannou will sit down on his punches, but he's fucking agile. He's a big, quick motherfucker. Like, it's not like you're fighting DC. Like, this dude's a lot younger. He's a way more explosive.
Well, that's where the age comes in. This is a young man's sport, and these guys are getting to the top of their age. They're in their 30s. DC was obviously on his way out, and Stipe Miocic again. I think it was a little bit of arrogance on his part. I think it was him thinking he knew best, and I've already beat this guy, and they thought that he could. He hits like this hard, and I beat him with these takedowns. Well, Francis got better. Francis's footwork was a lot better, a lot quicker. It wasn't just his hands; it was his feet, his sprawls, his control on the ground. He was punching him on the ground, and I was thinking to myself, "Oh God, we have another Brock Lesnar with boxing ability. We have a Mike Tyson on the feet and Brock Lesnar on the ground."
I wouldn't go that far. I don't know if
the heavyweight division's in trouble.
I think he can stuff takedowns, but I don't think that he is a wrestler.
Matt, let me ask you this. He went from getting taken down at will against Stipe Miocic to zero takedowns.
Yeah,
Zero landed.
here's the thing. He's young in the sport, and I'm glad that he trained that, and I'm glad that he got to link up with Kamaru Usman. That favored him heavily. But here's the difference. Cyril Gane is good on the ground. I'm not saying he's a great wrestler, but he has great positioning, and he's known for submitting people.
Well, we're talking about Stipe Miocic, not Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane.
No, I know, but this is who's
a ballet
fighting.
dancer, right?
But
Cyril
this
Gane's
is who's fighting
dancer on
though.
his feet.
So Cyril Gane, this is a big problem for Francis. One, he took time off.
Did you?
I believe in ring rust.
Did you see the sparring footage?
I did, and this is
What did
another
you think?
reason.
What did you think of the sparring footage?
I don't think that Francis is going to be able to deal with the striking of Cyril Gane. I think he has the power to drop him. Obviously, there's no question. He's the hardest hitting fucking human on the planet. That's a given. Like nobody can say, oh, if he doesn't. Yeah, obviously, if he connects, he's going to knock this guy down or out. That's a given. But watching their sparring footage, it looks pretty good for Cyril Gane. He looks like, one, he's not afraid of this guy, and he kind of knows what he's going to throw. He doesn't throw kicks. You don't have to worry about him kicking you. So you don't have to, and he's good at checking kicks, but he knows that it's going to be a hand fight. I think he's going to come out and straight up grapple this guy. I think, and then when they're separated, he's going to be tagging him up like a quick ass kickboxer. I seriously think Cyril Gane's going to win. The only thing that I don't have faith in is that he's 10-0 and very, very new to the sport. That's the only reason that I think he would have a problem.
And this is where I have to disagree. I watched the sparring footage and I said, wow, man, this guy, he's so great and he's so good. And the problem I have with sparring is you're sparring. You're not going in there. I mean, unless you're in a gym that's terrible and they're trying to have you guys fight each other.
Unless you're from shoot box where they knock each other the fuck out.
Right. Immediately leave that gym. You're going to get CTE. You're not going to have a career. But these guys are sparring. He has not, I doubt Gane has actually felt his full power. I think he may have given him some in sparring, of course, as do anybody. But the difference with this guy is he's the champion of the world. He's fought, arguably knocked out the best heavyweight ever. And then on top of that, you know, you had a guy like DC who was doing everything in his power to not fight Francis. That speaks volumes.
Francis is a scary guy, but Gane wants this fight. And I think he has the confidence from sparring him. Here's the biggest question. The question is, are you going to be able to get in and out on Francis like you do when you spar?
And
are you going to be able to avoid the power? That's the biggest question.
And I say no. No, you cannot. You cannot avoid the power. You are going to.
It's a really tough fight.
You're a striker. This is a striking fight, and unless you land deadly leg kicks on him very early and very often, I see you getting in the pocket and getting clipped. And there's nothing a shame about it. I think, you know, look, Gane is new to the sport. They're blowing him up really fast. 10 fights and he's already an interim champ in the heavyweight division. That says something about they're worried. A lot of these guys are getting old in the heavyweight division and they're not going to be able to take a lot of these guys to the next level, right? When I'm talking about the next 5 years, when we talk about the fight business, you have to think 20 years. That's all you got, from 20 to 40. That's it, right? 5, 5, 5. And some of these guys will only get 15. So for me, fighting Derek Lewis and beating him the way you did was not impressive. Derek Lewis stood there like a punching bag. It was not a Derek Lewis who's going out there fighting Olenek or any of these guys that he was trying to put away. It was a punching bag. Francis is not a human punching bag. This guy will hurt you, and he will hurt you often.
Francis,
so for me, I just don't see it going that way.
Ngannou's can move around with Gane, because Gane makes a lot of, not just Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis has the same power as Ngannou, because you have to think when Ngannou fought Lewis put the fear of God in this guy. He did not want to trade with him. I don't know for what reason that happened, but if you really remember, that's the last time he lost was to Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis puts the fear of knocking people out into these guys, because they know it takes literally one punch from this guy, which is crazy because Ngannou is the exact same. It was a dud fight, but Lewis obviously puts the fear in him. Ngannou showed no fear whatsoever. I mean, not Ngannou, Gane showed no fear whatsoever against Lewis. He was picking his ass apart. He literally put him on the fence and didn't let Lewis gain any momentum.
I'm not arguing that.
Hold on. He has the ability to do that to Ngannou because he already trained with this guy. So he knows, like, if this guy misses, I can start tagging.
But that's where I don't agree with you. I don't think he has the ability to do that to Francis. Look, when I look at that fight, there was almost 4 or 5 leg kicks thrown in 3 rounds. I mean, He's not going to be able to fight Francis Ngannou and win a fight against him with throwing 4 leg kicks. I can assure you that, because
You're not even accounting for the fact that he's possibly going to turn this into a grappling match.
believe you me, he's not. He would be insane.
You don't think so
to
at
turn.
all? Why?
No,
Why
you
would he
have
not?
you have Kamaru Usman in the corner. You saw what he did to Stipe Miocic, the guy who, by the way, the only guy in the entire world to beat him by ground, to take him down and ground him and grind him out for 5 rounds. The grind that we talk about, he's the only guy got knocked out with a left hook and a short left hook on the inside. So tell me, let me tell you this. If you're Cyril Gane and you're a ballerina dancer and you're absolutely phenomenal on a feet as a kickboxer, you're going to throw leg kicks as many and as fast as you can all day, and you're not going to try to shoot in. The last thing you want to do if you're Cyril Gane is get on the inside of one of these short uppercuts, or, I mean, you know, if we all know what Alistair Overeem's head is somewhere in space still till this day, and that's from that one of those big uppercuts. Imagine the short, stocky ones of him coming in and trying to take a shot, and I just don't see him trying to take that risk. I really don't. I don't think it's. I think if he's going to take a risk, it's going to be clinching him against the fence. But a shot, you won't see that in this fight.
I don't think he's going to shoot in, but that's what I mean. I think he's going to turn it into a dirty, like a fight where closing the gap's going to be hard, but when he gets inside, I think he can win the fight from there. Because I think he's a little bit more quick and a little bit more skilled at grappling. Even though he trains with Usman.
What I want to see in this fight is I want to see within the first round if Gane takes him to the fence, because that's going to be a tall tale of how this fight's going to go. Because if he decides to stand and strike with him, I have to give it to Francis Ngannou. He has not only the resume, but we know the KO ability in any fight that he's in. Cyril Gane, he's a little bit different. He's not going to knock you out with one punch. It's going to be a series of punches, right? One big one and then a follow-up. With Francis, you're going to hit the ground before you even know you're out. So the difference with that, I don't know how it's going to go, but I take Francis Ngannou by 3rd round KO. I think they're going to get warmed up in the first couple of rounds, and I think by round 3, 4, 5, they're going to start swinging some heavy lever, and I think that Francis is going to go ahead and KO him.
Well, I'm going to go opposite of you. I actually think Cyril Gane's going to win because, one, I think they will get warmed up. I think Ngannou's going to miss a lot. I don't think he's going to get into his rhythm where he feels confident to throw a bomb. And I don't know if he can carry his power all the way through 25 minutes. I don't think we've seen him even have to do that yet.
No.
Like I've seen it. The only time I've seen him go the distance, he was gun shy and he got out wrestled from Stipe. So he either needs to knock you out to win, or he's probably going to struggle throughout the fight.
But that's
judging
also,
off of his previous fights.
That's also one thing that he speaks about in his interviews is he talks about that fight. He says, I didn't have the gas tank. I didn't train for that. I didn't know how to handle the takedown, stand up. I never been through those deep waters, and it really messed with me mentally. And you saw that in the Derek Lewis fight. He was hesitant, gun shy, a guy who has KO power besides him, right? The second strongest guy in the division with knockout ability. And you saw him freeze. Well, he's past that stage. He's got over that hill. His wrestling looks great. His stand-up looks great. He looks sharp, fast, speed is there. His takedown defense is there. And I think it's going to be a hell of a night and a tall task for Cyril Gane to walk in there with just 10 fights and take out the baddest man on the planet. I just don't see it being done within, at a reasonable doubt. I think the only route to victory is a grind. And I don't see a finish from Cyril Gane. I see him fighting to grind out 5 rounds. And I honestly see this fight. If I was a betting man, I'd say round 3 KO Francis Ngannou by a devastating right hand.
I do put it a 5-round decision for Cyril Gane. I think that if Francis does land, he's going to hurt him bad, most likely knock him out. But I just don't think he's going to be able to touch him like that. I seriously don't. I don't know because, one, I don't know if he's going to be able to carry that power throughout the fight. I don't know how hard this dude's been training because he's been taking time off to go visit his homeland and all this shit. So it's for me.
Well,
I don't trust his work ethic. I trust Cyril Gane and what he's been doing.
Right. Let's go back to what you said about the small octagon. Well, they're fighting in Las Vegas in a big octagon, right?
No, they're fighting in California.
Oh, I thought okay.
But they're fighting in the pay-per-view octagon. Yeah.
Right.
A lot bigger.
It's 25 feet, right? So it's a huge space to throw down, especially for these big guys. And I think the key factor in that Francis Stipe Miocic fight was there was a small octagon and there wasn't a lot of space for Miocic to run. Now the big factor is they have a big ring and a lot of dancing room for Cyril Gane. So if Cyril can dance on the outside and pick him apart, I see that being possible for for the fight. I just don't think they're going to get into a fist fight, and Francis isn't going to hit you with a hard punch. And I think when he hits you with one, it's going to be a lot different at 4 ounces than you think it is with boxing gloves. We've never seen Cyril Gane get dropped, hit, defeated, and come back from anything. We've seen Francis do that. And I think that was exactly why we see him where he's at today, is he had to take those lumps and bruises to get up the mountain.
Well,
and
I think the fight is
Cyril
going to come
Gane
down.
doesn't have the resume yet.
It's just going to come down to what you said. It's going to come down to because Cyril Gane does need leg kicks to slow this guy down, or he needs to do some grappling.
Absolutely.
But it's going to come down to, is he going to be able to land leg kicks, or is he going to get countered every time he does a leg kick? Because if he gets countered every time, he's definitely not going to want to throw leg kicks. Then it's going to become a boxing match. He's not going to want to close the gap because he can't land a fucking leg kick. So it really just depends on if Francis is well prepared for him, and if he can land and hurt him. If he can't land and hurt him early, it's only, dude, you've seen it time and time again.
Take out the money from your savings. Go put all your money on Francis Ngannou by KO. He's gonna knock him out. There's no way this guy has 10 fights and dances around him for 25 minutes. I just don't see it happen. How do you say that happens? He beat a punching bag in his last fight.
Yeah, but then he fought Volkov before that and outclassed the shit out of him. Every dude that he's fought so far, he showed superior technique. And even though it's sparring, I'm impressed on how he dealt with Ngannou when they were sparring. He might not have felt the power, but he definitely was landing what he was doing, what he does in real fights to him in sparring matches. If he can do that and have confidence and take that into the fight, I do take him by a 5-round decision, because I believe
take the money out of the bank, put it on Francis Ngannou.
Well, agree to disagree.
If Francis Ngannou's right hand is as fast as a Ford Escort going as fast as it can. I mean, good Lord, if that guy hits you with 3 inches of distance, you're going to get KO'd. The guy's a masterpiece at KOing people. And I think he's about to put Cyril Gane through the masterclass. And I think it's been a lot of years since they sparred. And I think it's going to be a whole different fight.
Well, yeah, I mean, long story short, you're going with Ngannou, I'm going with Gane. So it's the only one that we're not on the same page about. I don't know though. It's like I said, it's very slim for Ngannou for me to be taking him, but I do think he has more skills.
It's what my old boxing coach Tony Pagan said. It's lightning and thunder, baby. Somebody goes boom and somebody goes zap.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for checking out Mad Matty Fight Talk. We're going to be doing a lot more episodes with Crazy Chris. We're going to be doing a lot more than just fight breakdowns and predictions, because finally got somebody that's just as passionate about fighting as me. So we're going to probably go into a lot more, financial.
Real quick, shout out to Lightspeed Payment Processing. All your payment needs right there, Lightspeed. Go to lightspeedpayments.com.
Yeah, if you guys need if you own a business, or you know somebody who owns a business, you guys are getting overcharged on your credit card processing, Lightspeed Payments offers the lowest monthly rate. They offer the greatest, most up-to-date equipment. So I would definitely go to their website, look into them, contact them. If you have a business owner, if you're a business owner or you have a friend who's a business owner, I would definitely tell them to go hit that up, check it out. They support the show. So
again, lightspeed-payments.com. Check them out. Get a quote. If you send them an email with the subject Mad Matty, you go ahead and get the 20% discount on any equipment you guys decide to purchase.
But once again, guys, if you guys like the show, like and subscribe to it. We're going to be dropping a lot more content soon. I know I've taken a long hiatus, but we're back at it. So long story short, we got Brunson winning, we got Moreno winning, and then we're split on the Ngannou and Gane fight. Hit us in the comments. Let us know who you guys think is going to win. I'm very curious to see, especially for the main event, what you guys think. Is it power or is it speed? But we'll see.
Haters talking shit, yeah, they breath stank. Walk up in the club dripping like I'm fresh paint. I can see through the facade like an